You know what? One thing's for sure. Whoever wins this thing, they're making a Disney movie out of this. What's up, everybody? If this is your first time here, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zach, but you all can call me the Tennessee Fanatic or the TN Fanatic for short. On this channel, I post reactions to my favorite team's games, but today I am here to give my official prediction for this year's college football playoff national championship between Indiana and Miami. Now, I wanted to kind of just set the stage here a little bit because this is a big time championship game between Miami and Indiana. So I wanted to set the stage for how both of these teams, Miami and Indiana, how they both got here. And since the Canes are literally playing this game in their home stadium, my goodness, let's go ahead and start with them. You know, I love that this is becoming a thing now in football. All of these former players turn coaches, they come back to their former team and lead them to greatness. You know, we've seen Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel do it in the NFL. Well, Coach Mario Cristobal, he has done it at the college level. The former Canes offensive lineman has now led Miami to 3 straight winning seasons and now an appearance in the college football playoff national championship, Miami's first appearance in the championship since 2002. And in that span of 3 straight winning seasons, Coach Cristobal, he has produced, I believe, players that I think remind Miami fans of those teams of old. Those teams that had legends on their rosters. Players like Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed. Malachi Tony, what a year he had. 1,089 yards he racked up. 9 touchdowns, the ACC Rookie of the Year, and the ACC Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ruben Bain Jr. and Francis Maigoya, sorry if I got that name wrong. Both of those guys, top defensive prospects in the upcoming draft. But even though Miami had just all of this talent, all of this potential, they still had to scratch. They still had to claw. It was a pretty tough road for Miami to get here to the College Football Playoff National Championship. But hey, they are here. They certainly started off this year with a bang, beating their old rivals Notre Dame 27-24 in week 1. Man, that catch by CJ Daniels, that had to be one of the best plays of the year. And Miami would take that momentum and have a 5-0 start to the season. I mean, at one point, they were the second best team in the country, the second ranked team in the country. I think a lot of people forget that. They were considered that team to be the dominating force all season long. Now, 2 losses in 3 games did knock the Canes back to earth. But hey, still finished with a 10-2 record. And that was good enough for Miami to become the final at-large team to make the college football playoff over Notre Dame, who were ranked ahead of them for quite some time. And here's my just quick take on that. You know, if there was just one more at-large spot, you know what? I don't even think I can do it. I don't think I can even give it to Notre Dame in that. Because yes, the Irish, they had another great year, another winning season under head coach Marcus Freeman. But at the end of the day, y'all don't play anybody. And you know what, Notre Dame fans, if y'all really wanted this, if your team really wanted to make the playoff that bad, maybe you shouldn't have beat Miami back in week 1. So that's on y'all. Anyway, going back to Miami. So in the playoff against the Aggies, I'm not going to lie, the Aggies, they were my dark horse to win the national championship. I mean, that's a great team over there. They had an 11-0 start, lost just 1 game to Texas to knock them down to like the 7th spot. But Miami, man, they came in there and they had a defensive clinic. Canes had 9 sacks. Ruben got 3 of those. The Miami defense also had 9 TFLs. And Bryce Fitzgerald got 2 picks, including the game winner versus Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. A lot more of the same. The Miami defense, they frustrated Julian Sand for a lot of that game. Julian threw 2 picks, and one of them was a pick 6. Big props to Keontae Scott for making that play. In the semis against Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl, Carson Beck, he had arguably one of the best games of his career. He was 23 for 27, 268 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown in the final 20 seconds of the game. Oh my gosh, Beck, he runs it in there to seal that win for Miami. And not only does Miami have the opportunity to win their first national title in 25 years, they get to do it at their own home stadium. For Miami, everything has been going right this year. They have an elite defense, an electrifying offense, a veteran quarterback, home field advantage. That has to be a lot of adversity for their opponents to overcome. Luckily for the Indiana Hoosiers, that's just who they are. That's just what they do. You know, personally, one of my favorite films of all time is, you guessed it, Hoosiers. For those of you who haven't seen it, which, like, come on. Like, that's a classic right there. It is a story about a former basketball coach, Norman Dale, rest in peace, Gene Hackman, who takes a local high school basketball team and leads them to this improbable run to win the state championship. And even though that, yes, like, that's just a movie, I wanted to just lay that out right there because in this modern day of sports where parity is alive and well, I didn't think we would ever see a story as improbable as Indiana's, but here we are. In just his second year as the head coach, Kirk Cignetti has led the Hoosiers to, yes, their best season in their history because no one has beaten them. No one has found a way to beat Indiana. Now, similar to their opponent, Miami, Indiana, they did have to overcome some adversity. There were some tough games that the Hoosiers had to face this season. Against Penn State in Week 11, Penn State, they almost got it done. Indiana was almost upset by them, but Mendoza, and this, I believe, was his Heisman moment. Down by 4 with 2 minutes left. He leads his team right down the field. He has a 10-play, 80-yard drive, and then on 3rd and goal from the 7, Mendoza, he finds Cooper in the end zone, baby. Oh, just barely in the end zone. Tap those toes in, baby. And Indiana survives against Penn State. In the Big Ten Championship against Ohio State, Mendoza, he gets rocked. The very first play, I thought, honestly, like he was going to be out for the rest of the game. But no, just a few plays later, Fernando, he gets back out there and has a great game for Indiana. He was 15 for 23, 222 yards, 1 touchdown, a QBR of 89.6. Charlie Backer for Indiana, he also had a nice game in that Big Ten championship. 6 catches for 126 yards. And thanks to the leg of Fielding, who is Ohio State's kicker, by the way, Indiana was able to hold off the Buckeyes and win the Big Ten championship. Not only did they get the Big Ten title, but they also got the #1 seed in the college football playoff. Now, we all saw it. Last year, every single team that got the bye in that playoff lost. They were one and done. But again, Indiana, they just continue to redefine expectations against Bama in the Rose Bowl. Thank you guys for this. Mendoza, he has 3 touchdowns, and the Hoosiers defense smothered Ty Simpson all game long. So much so that he's considering transferring. Hey, Ty, just letting you know. Think about it. In the semifinal against Oregon, a battle of the possible top 2 picks in the draft, Mendoza and Dante Moore. But what I will say is, geez, Dante Moore, he clearly does not want to play for the Raiders or the Jets because, man, he had a bad game. Threw a pick 6 on the first play, and Oregon's offense was just sloppy. Oregon had 3 turnovers and a missed field goal in their first 7 offensive drives of the game. All while Mendoza, he's finding Sarrett, he's finding Becker for touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. If I'm the Raiders, like, you gotta pick Mendoza. You got to. He's got the arm, he's got the talent, he's got the will. Plus, it was recently announced that Dante Moore, he's actually returning back to Oregon for another year. So, you know, that sucks for Dylan Raiola, who also transferred to Oregon. But hey, with all that free time he's gonna have on the bench, maybe Dylan will actually try to be his own man instead of trying to be a wannabe Patrick Mahomes. Look, Dylan, it's nothing personal, but we already got one of those in the NFL. His name is Josh Allen. Anyways, despite the fact that the Hoosiers have 0 5 stars on their team, they find themselves just one win away from capping off again their best season in the history of their entire team in the best way possible, winning the national championship. You know, at the start of the season, Miami had plus 3,000 odds to win the CFP title. Indiana had plus 10,000 odds to win the CFP. So for whoever had those two in the championship, you got to be one rich person. And for Miami, this was another stat that I found interesting. Miami has never lost to a ranked team this season. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. If they want to keep that stat alive, I feel like they got to have a hot start to this game, especially on offense, and build on it. I mean, we all know that the Canes defense, it is top-notch. They are fully capable of forcing Mendoza into uncomfortable situations. But, all of the work that the Canes defense will do in this game, it's not going to matter if their offense does not respond. For Miami's offensive play, for Carson Beck, I feel like it is vital. He cannot do what Dante Moore did in the Peach Bowl. No siree. Beck cannot throw all these picks and these fumbles and still expect to have a chance to win, because Indiana, they will take advantage of that. Give them an inch, they will take a mile. And look, I do believe that if Miami's offense does get rolling, I think they are capable of giving the Hoosiers a fight in this game. Again, Miami, they have the talent. It is there on their roster. They have the guys who know how to win. This season, thanks to a very solid O-line, Miami has been able to create a lot of nice running plays for Fletcher, while Carson Beck, he's done a great job at distributing the ball to his elite playmakers, most notably Malachi Toney, as I said earlier. But again, it is so critical for Miami to have a good start to this game and maintain that momentum all the way to the end if they want a chance to win this thing. But again, that is easier said than done, baby. For Indiana, I know Coach Cignetti, he has a ton of respect for Miami and their defense, the players that they have, and their ability to wreck a game. So for Indiana, I think a big key for them to winning this game is to spread out Miami's defense with all of their offensive threats. Keep Miami's defense on their toes. Keep them guessing. Indiana's got a great running back tandem. They got great wideouts. And even though that the Canes won in the semifinal game against Ole Miss, I think Miami fans, they should be concerned for how poorly their defense performed in that game against Ole Miss. Miami's defense allowed 398 total yards and 27 points. Before that game, in their games against Ohio State and the Texas A&M Aggies, they held those two teams to just a combined 17 points. And we'll go back even further than that. Prior to the Ole Miss game, Miami had held 6 straight opponents to 17 points or fewer. So to sum up what I said, here's what I will say, is that if the Canes defense looks elite, if they look like how they have looked when they've held those opponents to 17 points or less, I think Carson Beck, he will make the necessary plays because he has that championship dog in him, and I think Miami will win. However, if it goes the other way, if Miami doesn't do that, if they don't get the pass rush, then Mendoza, he's going to have all day to find Cooper, find Sarrett, find whoever to rack up the scoreboard. With all the rest that they'll get, the Hoosiers defense will force those turnovers, and then from there, it'll look like what most teams have looked like when they played Indiana this season. Being absolutely beat down. All right, so I've said what I need to say. I've laid it all out there. I have given this some thoughts, and I've made my choice. All right, fans, so the team that I believe is going to win this year's College Football Playoff National Championship is, drumroll, the Indiana Hoosiers. I'm just looking at both of these teams. I'm looking at the defenses, and if I'm asking myself, which defense is more durable? Which defense is more capable of making the big-time plays down the stretch in a game? Not just in, the first quarter. Not just in, the first half. I'm talking, deep in the game, I have to lean toward Indiana, the Hoosiers, Coach Cignetti, and the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. He's had an unbelievable year, and I believe that, he and Indiana, they are going to do it. They are going to have the first 16-0 college football season, and I think that they will hoist that trophy. But fans, that is going to do it for this prediction video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments which team you believe will win this year's CFP championship. But once again, fans, it is going to do it here. If you all enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and you can join our Fanatic Army. And a hearty salute to all of you as always, and I hope that all of you have a fantastic day.